Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to really dig into this whole mindfulness thing.
Yeah.
We hear it everywhere these days, but what's it really all about?
Well, I think what's so cool about it is it's this crazy blend of like ancient wisdom
Right.
and modern science. We're basically rediscovering something that humans have known for centuries?
Mm-hmm.
But now we've got like brain scans and research to prove it actually works.
I know, it's so fascinating. So let's start with the basic definition. That paying attention to the present moment without judgment thing. Easier said than done, right?
Absolutely.
Have you ever actually just tried to be like right here, right now?
Yeah, it's tough. It's definitely a skill you have to build up.
I know.
Our minds, they just want to jump around all the time, plan, worry about stuff.
Ugh, tell me about it.
But mindfulness is about gently bringing your attention back to the experience you're having.
Okay, that makes sense.
Over and over again.
So it's a practice.
Exactly.
Not just like a switch you can flip.
No, not at all.
And the without judgment part, that's a whole other challenge, right?
It is. And
My inner critic is like an Olympic level judge.
right. But it's not about silencing that voice.
Okay.
It's more about changing how we relate to it.
I see.
So instead of getting caught up in whether thoughts are good or bad, we just notice them. It's almost think of it like your phone, right?
Yeah.
You get all these notifications,
Yeah.
you see them, you know they're there,
Mm-hmm.
but you decide, do I need to open this right now? Or can I let it go?
Okay, yeah, that's a great image.
Yeah, just kind of acknowledging them.
It's like we're training ourselves to just observe what's going on in our minds.
Yeah.
Instead of getting all worked up about every little thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like rediscovering that sense of wonder you had as a kid.
right.
Where everything's new and exciting.
Like really feeling the warmth of your coffee mug.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or the texture of your clothes, all those little things we usually miss.
So it's definitely not about spacing out on the couch, even if that feels relaxing in the moment.
Definitely not. Mindfulness is active.
Okay, good to know.
It's intentional.
So this practice, it's not brand new, right? I mean, it's got this whole history behind it.
It does, and it goes back thousands of years, especially in Buddhist traditions.
So it's not just some trendy self-help thing.
No, not at all. It's got some serious history.
Tell me more about that, the Buddhist connection.
Well, in Buddhism, mindfulness, or they call it sati in Pali, is a core part of their whole system.
Okay.
It helps you understand why we suffer and how to break free from it.
Interesting.
Buddha taught that by paying close attention to what's happening right now, your thoughts, feelings, all of it,
Yeah.
you gain insights into how your mind works and can break free from these patterns that aren't helpful.
I see. So it started as a more spiritual path.
It did, towards enlightenment,
Okay.
but it's clearly made its way into the mainstream now.
For sure. So how did that happen? How did it go from monasteries to, everyday life?
Well, there were a few key people who brought it west in the 20th century, like Thich Nhat Hanh, a Vietnamese Buddhist monk.
I've heard of them.
He was huge. He said mindfulness wasn't just for monks, but for everyone.
Ah, so less about the robes and rituals.
Exactly. It became about living a better life no matter who you are.
That makes sense.
Then there was John Kabat-Zinn, a scientist and meditation teacher. He developed this program called mindfulness-based stress reduction.
MBSR?
Yeah, and that brought mindfulness into the medical world
Interesting.
as a way to manage stress, chronic pain, all sorts of stuff.
And that's when the research really exploded, right?
It did.
Suddenly scientists are studying it, measuring it, and finding some pretty amazing results.
I know, it's so cool.
This is what I love, the science behind it all. What's going on in our brains when we do this mindfulness thing?
Right. Well, one of the coolest discoveries is neuroplasticity.
Which is?
It's your brain's ability to change and rewire itself.
Wait, so our brains can actually change?
They can.
Yeah.
And mindfulness isn't just some temporary state of calm. It actually changes the physical structure of your brain.
Whoa. Seriously. It's not just that I feel better, it's actually changing the hardware.
Yeah. It's wild.
That's incredible.
For example, the hippocampus, a part of your brain that's super important for memory,
Okay.
it actually gets thicker.
Thicker.
Yeah. And more robust the more you practice mindfulness.
How does that happen?
Well, because mindfulness helps you focus your attention.
Okay.
And that strengthens the connections in that part of the brain. It's like building mental muscle.
So mindfulness is like a workout for my memory.
It is. Pretty cool, huh?
That is super cool. What about other parts of the brain? Does mindfulness affect them too?
Definitely. It also impacts the amygdala, which is like your brain's emotional control center.
Ah, the amygdala. I've heard of that.
It's the thing that triggers your fight or flight response.
Oh yeah, like when you're about to give a big presentation and you feel that panic.
Exactly. And mindfulness actually helps regulate the amygdala. It makes you less reactive to stress. It's like installing a dimmer switch on your emotions.
I like that.
So you can choose how to react instead of just freaking out.
So we're not just masking the stress, we're actually changing how our brains respond to it.
Yeah, that's the key difference.
Wow, that's powerful stuff.
It is, and these changes have a ripple effect on your whole well-being.
I bet.
But we'll talk about all those benefits after a quick break.
Okay, so we know mindfulness can actually change our brains, but how we actually do it?
Right, it can't all be like chanting and mountain retreats. Right.
I mean, if it is, sign me up. But seriously, how do we bring this into our everyday lives?
Well, the good news is it's not really about the setting, it's about this quality of attention you can cultivate.
Okay, so less about where you are, more about the mental skill.
Exactly. And like any skill, you got to practice it, build it up.
So what are some techniques, like things people can try?
Well, mindfulness meditation is a good place to start.
Okay, classic meditation.
Yeah, you find a comfy spot, focus on your breath, and just notice when your mind wanders, which it will.
Oh, my mind wanders like it's got a frequent flyer program.
Right, but that's normal. The key is not to judge the wandering, but just gently redirect your attention back to your breath.
So each time you get distracted and bring yourself back, that's actually the practice.
Exactly. You're strengthening that attention muscle.
That's almost like building patience too, right?
It is. It's not about being good at meditating, it's about just showing up and trying.
I like that. What about other types of meditation?
There's the body scan, where you focus on different parts of your body
Okay.
and notice any sensations without judging them.
So kind of like a mental inventory.
Yeah, and it helps you become more aware of your physical experience.
I can see how that could be helpful for people dealing with pain or maybe anxiety too.
Absolutely. And if staying still is hard, you can try mindful walking.
Mindful walking.
Yeah. Instead of just rushing to get somewhere, you slow down, feel your feet on the ground. Since the movement, you're basically bringing mindfulness to something you already do.
So even a walk can be a chance to practice. I love that. What about eating? I am the worst at being present while I eat.
A lot of people are. We're always multitasking, checking our phone.
I'm guilty.
But mindful eating, it can be amazing. Put the phone away, take a few deep breaths,
Okay.
and really savor every bite. Notice the colors, the textures, how the flavors change as you chew.
It's like you're experiencing food all over again.
Right, and this applies to anything really. Showering, doing the dishes, even listening to music.
I'm seeing a pattern here. It's not about doing more things.
No,
It's about bringing a different kind of awareness to the things you already do.
exactly. And the more you practice, the more it becomes a habit.
Like anything, right?
Yeah,
It takes time and repetition.
it does. But even a few minutes a day can make a huge difference.
That's encouraging. So say someone's ready to try this. How do they make it part of their daily life?
One way is to bring that mindful awareness to your routine. So instead of rushing through your morning, try slowing down. Really feel the water in the shower.
Yeah.
Taste your coffee. Notice the sounds around you.
It's like hitting pause on that autopilot mode.
Yes. And when you're talking to people, practice mindful listening.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Put your phone away, make eye contact, and really focus on what they're saying.
Don't interrupt. Don't plan your response in your head.
Exactly. I know it's hard.
It is. But I could see how that would make you a better friend, partner, you know?
Definitely. And when things get tough, mindfulness helps you respond with more, well, wisdom.
Instead of just reacting on impulse.
Right. That pause between stimulus and response,
Yeah.
it gives you space to choose a better action.
So like instead of snapping at your boss when you get another deadline,
Yeah.
you can take a breath, recognize you're frustrated, and then decide how to respond
Exactly. It's about creating space.
to make a good choice, not just an automatic one.
And remember, it's not about being perfect.
Oh, thank goodness.
It's not about achieving this blissful, thought-free state. No, it's about noticing when your mind wanders and bringing it back over and over again.
So it's a practice, not a destination
Exactly.
that takes the pressure off. Okay, so we've talked about individual benefits, but is there a bigger picture here? Could mindfulness actually impact society?
Ooh, that's a great question. And more people are asking it.
Really?
Yeah, there's this growing interest in mindfulness for a more compassionate, more just world.
Wow, tell me more.
Well, imagine if everyone was more present, more empathetic,
Okay.
and better at handling their emotions.
Yeah.
How would that change how we relate to each other?
I mean, that could transform everything.
It could. Less road rage, more understanding between people who disagree.
I'm starting to see the ripple effect here.
Right. It could affect our communities, workplaces, even our political systems.
So we could actually make better decisions.
More collaborative, more compassionate decisions.
Wow, that's a powerful vision. So mindfulness starts with the individual,
It does.
but it can create change on a much larger scale.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so inspiring.
I agree. It's not just about feeling better ourselves. It's about creating a better world for everyone.
Yes.
And that's what makes it so exciting.
This has been such a great exploration of mindfulness. We've covered so much.
We have, but there's always more to learn.
Isn't there always?
And we should also talk about some of the challenges, the misconceptions around mindfulness.
Right. It's not always easy.
Definitely not. And we'll dig into those in the final part of our deep dive.
All right. So welcome back to our deep dive into mindfulness. We've talked about what it is, where it came from, the science behind it, even how to practice it.
Yeah, we've covered a lot.
But before we wrap up, I think it's important to talk about some of the challenges, maybe even some misconceptions around mindfulness.
Totally.
Because it's not always easy,
Yeah,
right? And it's not like a quick fix.
definitely not.
One thing I hear a lot is, mindfulness is about emptying your mind, stopping all thoughts.
Oh, yeah.
And honestly, that just sounds exhausting.
It does. How is that even possible? Right. Our thoughts are kind of what make us, well, us.
Exactly. It's not about stopping thoughts. It's more about changing how we relate to them.
Okay, so how do we do that?
It's about noticing those thoughts without getting all caught up in them. Imagine you're watching cars go by on a busy street.
Okay.
You see them, but you don't jump into every single one.
I see. So you acknowledge the thought, but you don't have to go along for the ride.
Yeah, exactly.
But that can't be easy, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you're just starting out.
It's definitely a practice. A lot of people get frustrated when their mind wanders, which it will happen.
Oh, for sure. My mind is like a squirrel on a caffeine high.
Totally.
Yeah.
But the key is noticing the wandering. That's the practice.
It's not about beating yourself up for getting distracted.
Oop.
It's about bringing your attention back again and again.
Exactly. Every time you do that, you're strengthening that muscle of attention.
I love that.
Yeah.
What are some other, misconceptions or challenges people might face?
Well, sometimes people think mindfulness is just this self-care thing. It's all about stress reduction and personal well-being.
Yeah, and those are definitely benefits.
Oh, for sure. But it can be so much more than that.
In what way?
It can actually improve your relationships with others
What?
and even impact the world around you.
Now, that's interesting. I mean, I get how being more present would make you a better listener, more empathetic.
Yeah.
But how does that translate to, societal change?
Well, think about it. What if more people were better at regulating their emotions?
Okay.
More aware of other suffering?
Yeah?
Less likely to react impulsively and more likely to approach conflict with understanding.
I see where you're going with this.
Right. Less anger, more thoughtful communication. That could change everything.
From how we treat each other to how we solve global problems.
Exactly. Mindfulness can cultivate those qualities we need for a better world.
Like compassion, patience, insight.
Yes. It's not about being passive. It's about bringing a different kind of awareness to everything we do.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. I'm realizing mindfulness is way more than just a relaxation technique.
Me too.
It's a way of being, a way of interacting with the world that benefits everyone, not just ourselves.
I completely agree. It's something that can truly change the world.
One mindful moment at a time.
Exactly.
So for anyone listening who's feeling inspired, what's your advice? Where do they start?
Start small. Don't try to do too much at once. Even a few minutes of breathing or just bringing awareness to your everyday activities, that's enough.
Yeah, keep it simple.
There are tons of resources out there too. Books, apps, guided meditations.
And don't forget, be patient with yourself. It's a journey, not a race.
Exactly. Some days will be harder than others. Just keep coming back to the practice.
And eventually you'll find that mindful way of being in the world.
You will. And remember, even small moments of mindfulness can have a huge impact.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into mindfulness. We hope you've learned something new and feel inspired to explore this amazing practice in your own life. Until next time.